Hey guys, welcome. They are not wasting any time. I just got into the game and they've already made their turn one play. This is a live narration of Melle versus Teclis. CALLOUS Invitational 4 play-ins, round of 4 in Group A. This is the last match to be played, and the winner here is going to be against Roses. We will be in direct 1v1 for the spot matches next week. This is the final game of the round of 4, like I said. Melle, in order to get here, had to beat. Who did Melle beat? Teclis beat Jacob. I know that. I'm not remembering. Oh, Melle beat Kale. That's what it was. And that's how they both got here. Teclis on the top has. I don't know what that nickname is. Mumuton. He has clearly a stall team here. Skarm, Bliss, Hariyama, presumably defensive Zapdos that we haven't seen too much of. Melle, on the other hand, seems to have a mixed offense, it seems. He's got a lot. Wow, he's revealed 4 Pokemon. Every single one of them is weak to Earthquake. That's unusual. It looks worse than it is because presumably the last 2 are Earthquake immunities, I would think. Maybe it's like Gyra plus Mence or something along those lines, but 4 Earthquake weaknesses, 4 ground weaknesses for Melle. Sometimes offensive teams are a little weird like that. I don't know if the setup in this case is optimal. Oh, wow. Huge over prediction there for Teclis. He Earthquakes into Gyarados, thinking it would switch, being afraid of Rock Slide. Melle outpredicts him 2 turns in a row, in fact. He catches him with the Earthquake as Teclis outpredicts, and then he double edges into the T-Tar, and it ends up hitting Zapdos. So that is exactly what Melle would have wanted. A great sequence for him. Oh, wow. And Gyara's faster than the Zapdos, unboosted. We're 12 turns in, and Teclis is just, it feels like he's getting destroyed here. He's lost 2 pokes already. He's got a couple pokes that have taken damage. Melle just outpredicting him, and probably in his head, Teclis might be feeling a little bit tilty right now. Like, what the fuck? Why is he making every move correctly? Why am I not getting a read on this guy? This is not the way that you would want to start an important best-of-3 series, and I hope that if Teclis loses this game, which, let's not jump ahead, it's not over yet, but it certainly looks bad, and if Teclis does, in fact, go on to lose this game, it felt like this has taken 3 minutes up to this point, to be totally honest. Hasn't even been 5 minutes. So if Teclis loses, I'd like to see him take a minute in between Game 1 and Game 2, go get a drink, get up, pace around a little bit, just clear your head. Got to hit the reset button, because if he just jumps right into the second game and it's like this, he might get snowballed 2-0 in 10 minutes, and that is very much not what you want to do. All that being said, he's not ready to concede this game yet, as he shouldn't be. He's behind, but he's not dead in the water. But everything about the first dozen turns of this game was all Melle. And, I certainly think Melle will win this game, but obviously they're going to go through the motions. Things can happen. People can choke. There could be luck, blah, blah, blah. Teclis is not and should not concede in this instance. Goes to Hariyama here. It's Agiligros for Melle, which did have his lefties knocked off previously, so we know that he doesn't have Lum or anything along those lines. Meteor Mash here, 46%, and he's going to get Whirlwinded away, dragging out T-Tower, which obviously has to be afraid of. We haven't actually seen the attack, but Cross Chop, Brick Break, whatever it may be. Turns out it is Brick Break. That can't miss as Cross Chop can, and it has a lot more PP, so it is the more reliable choice. It doesn't have the ability to BS crit out something like a boosted Lax the same way Cross Chop does. It also misses out on certain one-hit KOs. But Cross Chop, yeah, there's pros and cons to both, but looks like Teclis is content to play a longer, more drawn-out game. He opted for the more reliable move. He's totally fine if the game takes a little while. Gyarados here seems like a real problem. It's HP Rock Gyra, not HP Flying, so he can't hit the Claydol with that, but we know that he has Double Edge. So basically, Skarm gets nailed by Magneton, which is exactly what happened, but Zapdos is one of the best counters to Gyarados. But because of the way this game played out, and with the Zapdos getting killed without the Gyarados really taking too much damage or getting banged up all that much at all, The Gyarados, I think, is actually a massive problem now. Now, granted, there's a big over-prediction for Melle, but it wouldn't have mattered. Hypothetically, had he just stayed in and gone for Double Edge there, it would have resulted in the same turn here of an explosion. So if he wanted to play around that, he had to switch to either T-Tower or Metagross. But the trade happens via explosion. Brick Break comes down and Crit Earthquake comes down, so that leaves us in a 3-2. Melle still hasn't shown his last poke. Lead Rachi coming back. It's shown only Body Slam. Blissey comes in. Hidden Power. That is HP fighting here. So this is a strictly physical maybe or a mixed Rachi. Now fishing for Paralysis. Body Slam there has a 60% chance because of Serene Grace to para, but doesn't find it. Here's a second attempt. This one does para, and Blissey gets soft-boiled off anyway. However, she's going to be on the back end of these super effective hidden power fightings that do about a third every time, and the Rachi shows itself to be bulky as well. Seismic Toss, which of course does exactly 100, is going to do 24%, so this Jirachi has obviously HP investment, and I assume has some amount of attack investment as well, since he has both Body Slam and HP Fighting. We haven't seen anything other than those two moves, but fishing for crits or full paras on the Blissey that have not cooperated at meaningful times just yet. There's a full para now, but unless there's another one or a crit or what have you, it's easily negated. There is a full para, and I'm seeing the GGs. They might be ahead of us in real time. Hidden Power, soft-boiled. I don't want to miss Game 2 if it starts. I do hate that we are behind in real time where they are, but that's, I mean, the problem with skipping ahead is it might skip several turns, so I'm just letting it play out. That's why he conceded, because full para must have kicked in at a bad time. That is going to enable the faster Jirachi to simply click Hidden Power Fighting and kill the T-Tar. And as expected, Melle is going to take this game down. He doesn't even show his last poke. You would think that it is some kind of physically resistant or immune, earthquake resistant or immune physical-based poke. So something like Salamence, I would say, makes a lot of sense. Also could have been a Flygon or something like that. But they're jumping right into the second game here, not wasting a lot of time. I switched the sides for continuity to put Melle on the bottom again and Teclis on the Malmoton alt on the top. Melle led with a Heracross, which obviously did not like seeing the lead Salamence on the other side. And it looks like Teclis has gone with a different approach in this game. He had what seemed like a very stally reactive team in the first game, and now we're looking at either an offense or something a little more mid-rangey, whereas Melle has for the second time opted to bring a Magneton offense team, which seems to be an archetype more and more recently that he really likes and he really favors. I've seen him bring it a bunch of times in recent times in tournament play. So there is a Surf on Porygon 2. Just 6 turns in, Melle's entire team has been revealed. And Teclis, unsurprisingly, one of his go-to mons, once again has opted to bring a Blissey. One of the best Pokemon in the tier, and for a defensive-minded player like Teclis, something that he uses quite a lot. Porygon 2 is going to come in here. And here's Salamence. But yeah, I mean, these guys have played really quickly. Neither one at all wasting time, neither one at all getting low on their timer. They're clicking very quickly, and it is, yeah, I mean, from the live narration perspective, pros and cons, right? It's going by quickly. At the same time, I don't really have as much time as I would necessarily always like to explain every single thing that's happening or why it's happening. But as far as pace of play, some people prefer Pokemon like this, and they are certainly, neither of these guys are stopping to think or breathe. They are just clicking. Mag on Mag match, and Thunder Wave comes down for Teclis. Now he does have Hidden Power Fire, which Melle evidently did not. He goes Thunderbolt, so he's going to do a decent amount of damage to the opposing Magneton on the way out, but the bottom line is that Teclis is going to win out in this situation. Now, how good Magneton is at this point is hard to say. If it had HP Grass, it could be a threat to Swampert, but we know that it doesn't. Likewise, it doesn't have HP Ice for the Salamence. Salamence will always outspeed it and kill it, even though it does have threatening things like Thunder Wave. So I think I agree there with Teclis letting it go. If he thought that just as fodder it might have had value later, maybe he could have just gone to the Salamence and the Brick Break, which would have been pretty safe. Maybe he was afraid of Rock Slide. Pursuit is going to catch Salamence on the way out here, 43%, not too bad. Salamence is still a threat, however, later in the game, though Porygon 2 can wall it pretty well. And now Surf 35% on Heracross, who's going to fall to 65%. That's going to be met by a Scarm, Swords Dance, as the Scarm comes in. So now the mind game of does the Scarm have Drill Peck or a way to actually hit the Heracross? And the answer is yes. Brick Break gets him for 49%, but that 4x weakness of flying is exploited, and down goes Hera as Teclis furthers his lead. In contrast to the first game, where I felt like Melle was ahead basically the whole time, it has felt to me in this game that Teclis has been a bit ahead for most of it, and it seems like he is in a better position right now, in my opinion. All but one pokes have been revealed at this point. One hidden poke in the back for Teclis. Skarmory coming in, trying to receive a Wish, and Porygon 2 is going to go for Sharpen. Got a little bit of surprise value here. I think this set is pretty janky, but it is the kind of thing that can randomly win tournament games if you get the right matchup. Unfortunately, that mag-on-mag trade earlier in the game mattered a lot, as it turns out, because in fact, Teclis did have a Skarmory. It wasn't clear if he did or not. So even though the Magneton for Teclis was not actually that valuable in this matchup, the Magneton for Melle, which got removed, was really valuable. That would have been the key to dealing with this Scarm, and it seems the Scarm is very difficult now. An insult to injury, with this being that stupid Sharpen set of Porygon 2, it doesn't even have Thunderbolt, as Porygon 2 usually does, to threaten Scarm. So Scarm is that much more of a wall than it otherwise would be. He gets all 3 layers of spikes down. 3 out of the 4 pokes from Melle are spikes vulnerable, so they're going to have to live with that. There's no spinner in sight. Scarm is a tough wall. This just seems like a sharp contrast from what we saw in the previous game. I really think that this one is overwhelmingly in Teclis' favor, and most likely we are going to be going to a Game 3 here. But once again, Melle, even though he's behind and I think has very little chance to win this game, is not conceding, nor should he. I don't know where he thinks it's going to go if he keeps attempting to set up the Sharpen Porygon. It's going to get walled forever by this Scarm, who is now back up to 100% after receiving a Wish from Bliss. And Salamence going for the Brick Break here. Drill Peck coming back, and Salamence, as we saw a while ago, doesn't have lefties, so he's presumably stuck with Choice Band on this Brick Break. He certainly is not bluffing like a black belt, and he's got Fire Blast or whatever. It seems to be Brick Break and only Brick Break, and that is not anywhere near enough, especially when there are multiple fighting resistances, as we find out on the team for Teclis. Earthquake going to kill Tar, and I think it is just a matter of time at this point before we skip over to a Game 3. But they're going to play it out, and he does get a critical hit here, so theoretically with another one, he could kill the Scarm. But even then, I mean, if you're really worried about it, couldn't the Salamence or the Claydol just come in here? He's going to stick it out anyway. He's going to go for Drill Peck. He's going to kill the Salamence. And now Swampert comes in. That's going to be on its deathbed. It's in the red immediately when he comes in. He leftovers up to just barely out of the red at 26%, but it's ready to fold over to a Gentle Breeze. There's Drill Peck. There's Ice Beam. Ice Beam with a crit may or may not have mattered, but down goes the Scarm. And here comes the Salamence on cleanup duty. Melle in shambles here with only the Porygon 2 and the Swampert remaining. There's the Brick Break. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Doesn't seem to be anything that wants to take a CB Brick Break here. 50-50 coin flip on Protect is won by Melle, but he's not going to get the 25-75. Brick Break is going to kill. Porygon 2 is going to come in. I see the GG. And I think almost certainly, pending a meteor striking Teclis' house and him losing this game, I do believe we are, in fact, going to a Game 3. Luckily, that game has not started yet. Teclis does win, which probably happened 30 seconds or a minute ago in real time, but the animations slow it down. Teclis wins. There is a third and final game coming up. Neither of these games, quite frankly, have been overly close. Both of them fairly one-sided. All Melle in Game 1, all Teclis in Game 2. This third game is obviously the most important game. One of them is going to be in the finals of their bracket, directly trying to play into the main event, and the other one is going to be out. On the other side of the bracket, the pairing, of course, is SSTJ against Dexa. Should be a good set. And then, like I said, the winner here is going to face... Man, I keep getting the bracket screwed up. The winner here is going to face... I don't know why I'm blanking out today. Who the hell is waiting? Roses! Yes! Roses beat Gary Oak. Winner is going to face Roses. And Game 3 has not yet started here. There's a bunch of other games going on. I kind of want to take a peek, but trying to focus and keep this somewhat professional. But there are multiple games for PPL playoffs going on, and because the week after this one is just going to be a week of nothing because there's 1 week between the end of play-ins and the start of the actual main event for CALLOUS Invitational, I think that will be a fantastic week for me to bring you some Pokemon Perfect content. There's been a lot going on in PPL, and in our Master Tours, there's been quite a few games that I would like to share with you, so perhaps that 1 week in between the end of play-ins and the start of the main event is going to be a good opportunity to do that. I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss them starting the game. See, there's a bunch of other stuff going on. That's for PPL. I guess a couple of the other ones already finished, but I know Alexander against Gaku started not too long ago. That was for PPL. Some of them are close. One of the sets already finished in a 5-5 tie, and I think the other one is on pace to potentially do the same. So yeah, we're just waiting on the third game here. Neither one really has been all that close, and the other thing is that neither player has been even a little bit willing to differ from their comfort zone. It has been Melle repeatedly bringing Magneton offense, seems to be his preference these days, and Teclis, who one of my biggest criticisms of him as an ADV player is that I think he lacks versatility. I think he's stubborn. I think he brings defensive, blissy-ish teams far too often, almost all the time. And indeed, in this set, it's been the exact same thing. He has simply brought defense-minded, spikes, blissy teams both times. So the question here is, does either guy deviate? Does either guy have the balls to, with their tournament life on the line, bring something different in Game 3? Or are they both going to do more of the same? We're going to go down with the ship, and they're just going to do what they do and hope that it works. Honestly, Pokemon players are pretty stubborn, pretty narrow. Not a lot of people have the practice or the balls to adjust on the fly and bring something totally different. It could totally work here if one of them completely switched it up and brought a good team of a completely different style. But I would be more inclined to guess, if I had to guess, that they're both going to bring more of the same. But finally, Game 3 has begun, so we're going to find out. Melle is on the bottom for the third and final time. Teclis on this alt Mouton, or however that's pronounced, some stupid French word. It is going to have a Salamence lead on the top against a Skarm. Lead Skarm is begging for a mag, so almost always lead Skarmory is one of two things. It is YOLO Skarm, which is that dumb HP ground Skarm that nobody uses, or there's a Dugtrio in the back to revenge kill a Magneton. One of the two. But it's going to be Spikes, and it's going to be Teclis switching to his own Skarm. This already looks remarkably similar to the game that the team that Teclis just used in Game 2. Could he have brought the same team again? Not wild. We have seen that. We saw it in the play-ins, in which Roses brought the double Sandvale team twice. And even last year in the main event, we saw that a couple of times. By very good players, too. So it's not necessarily a janky strategy. Last year, Tamahome against Lanier, which is obviously a heavyweight matchup. Tama won Game 1, lost Game 2, and then in Game 3, he defaulted to the same team that he used to win Game 1, and he won that game as well. That was a bad whirlwind for Melle. He's going to blow out Magneton, which is exactly what he would like. Unless he's playing mind games here. He goes, oh no. He goes, now that's not good at all. Watch him have HP ground here. Watch him be baiting him to stay in. But no, it is not a bluff. It is authentic. Magneton is going to eat the Skarm. It's gone. Just a straight-up 6-5 advantage for Teclis. Is there a Dugtrio in the back? It would make a lot of sense to me that there would be. You are begging for Magneton when you lead Skarmory. So you would think that there's a Dougie in the back. But the fact that Melle is hesitating is making me a little bit nervous for him. It's making me think that he does not have it. Or even worse, or he's having some kind of connection issue. And in fact, we see that Melle does disconnect here. Hopefully that is not going to be a problem. Hopefully he reconnects and we resume as normal. But you would think that he's got a Dugtrio in the back. It just, I mean, he's got to, right? Here's the reconnect. Wow, he doesn't have it. He goes Jirachi here. Wow, I'm really, really surprised. That's a matchup fish for sure. I mean, you're begging for Magneton problems. You lead Skyrim and you don't have Dugtrio. That's a risky proposition. And things going from bad to worse here. Thunder Wave, full para here. And Melle trapped himself. He sent Jirachi into Magneton. He's magnet pulled. He's stuck. So he better find a Fire Punch here, and it better kill. He's going to go for Wish. He's going to gamble here. He needs 2 non-para turns to get the Wish Protect off, and he does get the Protect off, so he does receive his own Wish. But here comes Claydol. This team looks remarkably similar to the game that Teclis just brought in the last game. Melle needs to have a Ghost here, and he does. I mean, this would have been a blowout. If he loses the Scarm for free and he loses the Spikes, it would have been devastating. So he does have the Gengar to protect the Spikes, but it will not survive another Psychic pending a Giga Drain, which he does have. So Giga Drain is going to keep him in the mix. Specs drop not relevant here. Psychic would kill either way if they both play this out. Will he go for the Giga Drain? It did 41 last time. Doll's at 40. Gengar possibly here could kill it. Teclis, I think, should switch here. I think going to his own Magneton is probably a good play, or a Blissey if he has it, but Teclis absolutely should switch here, should not give Melle the opportunity to get the Giga Drain. Maybe he can get the Claydol in later and get the spin off. I absolutely think that Teclis should switch. I think staying in and getting donked by Giga Drain is absolutely not what you want to be doing. And it is finally Teclis taking the time. This has been a fast and furious series. Both these players have played very quickly. A lot of clicking, not a lot of timer being used. But this is a crucial turn, and both players using their clock here. Teclis in particular trying to figure out what to do. This is a very important turn. This, in fact, could have a very big impact on ultimately how far does he go in this tournament. Taking almost a full minute here, in fact, which is refreshing to see given the blistering pace of the series up to this point. And Melle is taking his time as well. Both players trying to figure out the optimal play here. I'm very much inclined to think that Teclis should switch. For Melle, it is less clear. It depends on what you think comes in. I mean, there's an argument here for sure for Melle. I mean, if you think it's Blissey, maybe you just boom. But, I mean, it could just be Magneton is the problem. You don't want to boom on that. Or, like, you don't want to Fire Punch anticipating Magneton and hit the Claydol. That's real bad. This is a tough turn. This is a really tough turn. It's also possible that Melle should switch. I think Teclis really needs to switch. Melle, it's less clear. And both of them really taking their time here. Blissey is the switch in. And Melle with Will-O-Wisp, interesting. I think that was intended to catch the Magneton. Not like it's bad on Blissey, but I don't know if it was worth staying in just to do that on Bliss specifically. It's interesting. The question now is, when does Teclis try to get the doll back in, and can Melle catch it before it gets rapid spin off? So there's Wish from Blissey. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, doll would be a wonderful target to pass that to. Are you going to try it staring down a tower? A tower that could have Crunch, a tower that could have HP Bug, a tower that could begin Dragon Dancing up here. There's a lot of bad things that could happen. Will Teclis have the self-discipline to simply go to his T-Tower answer instead of try to pass it to the Claydol? And the answer is yes, and I wholeheartedly agree with that play for Teclis. Instead of trying to get cute, instead of trying to pass that to the doll, he simply goes to his bulky water. That absolutely seems like the right play here. And he's going to follow it up with another nice play going for Roar, getting rid of the incoming Zapdos, dragging out T-Tower. Doesn't have the balls, however, to do it again. That would have been a fantastic second Roar. The Surf wasn't bad, but it was only as good as it is because he got a crit there. Had it not been a crit, then Roar obviously would have been the better play, but the crit definitely helps his case. So, the obvious thing now is for Blissey to come back in. This gives Teclis a couple of options. He could try to go to Claydol here if he thinks Thunderbolt's coming down. He also has to think about, does Zapdos have Roar? From Melle's point of view, Like I said, the obvious switch is just to go to Bliss, but there's a lot of bad things that could happen there. Melle could baton pass out to a favorable matchup. Melle could roar it out and rack up spikes damage somewhere. Melle could have a surprise HP fighting or drill pack. We've seen actual nothing from the Zapdos up to this point, other than the fact that it has leftovers. And Tech was thinking all these things over. He's taking his timer here once again, which I'm glad to see. This is another important turn where there's big play potential here all the way around. If Claydol tries to sneak in, it gets picked off by HP Grass. That's really bad. If Blissey comes in on like an HP Fighting and 3 layers of spikes, that would be devastatingly bad for Bliss. Or I mean, even really just a drill pack, right? It's at 57%. It's hard. This Zapdos is really dangerous here, especially in an ideal world for Melle, where it would have HP Ice opposed to HP Grass and be faster than the Salamence. If that is the case, if this is a fast HP Ice Zapdos, which is the dream scenario, there is no good switch right now for Teclis whatsoever. Mence would be one-hit KO'd. Skarm would be one-hit KO'd. Magneton with the spikes and the Thunderbolt would not have a happy day. And that's what's coming in here. It's going to survive Thunderbolt barely, but it is not going to survive the follow-up. Claydol here doesn't like this matchup. Blissey's low. Obviously, Kuhn doesn't beat Zapdos 1v1. Zapdos seems like a mega threat in this late game. This would be the opportunity to get Blissey in if you're confident there is no Drill Peck and no HP Fighting. And in fact, Teclis goes for it. So now, does he have it? And the answer is no. He goes for Roar. Does not have the physical attack. Roars out Claydol critically here. This is a very big turn. Do you try to block spin or do you go ham on it? He tries to attack. Whether that would have killed or not, I don't know. It depends on the EVs of both pokes. But Hidden Power, whether that is Grass or Ice, was aimed at the Claydol there. T-Tar sneaks in on an Ice Beam, gets crit, which is real bad. But he's going to be, he's going to be faster here. The T-Tar is, which is critical. He's only going to get to do one more thing, but it matters a lot. I mean, if he has Focus Punch, Brick Break, a lot of things that he could do here. That is not one of them. He's going to go for Pursuit. That's going to do nothing, and there's going to be a soft-boiled here. He now switches over to Brick Break. I can't believe he didn't do that before. That's crazy that he went for Pursuit there. Even if the Bliss had switched out, who cares with how little it would have done? I think you've got it as Brick Break there, and I do not agree with that decision for Melle. There is the wish once again. This time it's for Rachi. He's going to try to pass it to Gengar, and he's going to be successful. He comes in on the wish turn. Ice Beam maybe could have gotten him there, depending on the EVs for both. We know that he has Ice Beam, but he didn't go for it there. Instead, he goes for his own wish. So there's a wish floating here for Teclis. Melle is behind here on paper 5-4, but he's got an unrevealed in the back. Some of Teclis' stuff is banged up, and the Zapdos is an absolute threat in this game for Melle. So I do not think it's wild at all that Melle finds a way to win this game. This is by far, of the three, the best, closest, and most evenly matched game. The other two both one-sided affairs. Both players, again, using their timer. Teclis does have that wish floating. Where does he want to put that? He may just keep it for himself and go for Ice Beam, which I don't think is the worst play in the world. There does not seem to be a great Gengar switch here. Now the Kuhn can come in on Spikes and Thunderbolt. Doesn't love it, but he can because it'll negate some of that damage from the wish. You definitely don't go Mence here to get Ice Punched. I don't see the point of going Skarm. And I guess you could try Claydol, but it's a risk. And that's a good play for Melle, I think. But it has some bad follow-up potential. So he's going to come in on the Ice Beam, which he anticipated. That's fine. And Jirachi's going to be A-OK. But can you prevent a wish being passed to Claydol, which is really what you want to do in Melle's seat? Instead, it's a full para and a Seismic Toss. Doesn't go for the other wish. Now Jirachi in a little bit of trouble in the danger zone here. Would have to go for a sequence of Wish and Protect without a full para in order to heal itself. There's the Seismic Toss, there's the Wish, so Melle is going to go for it. I don't know, does he go for Protect on this turn? He does. And Teclis does go for the attack. That actually could have been a Body Slam and a Wish turn, depending on the prediction that they both made. But Teclis made the right read. He went for the attack, gave Melle credit for the Protect. It was, in fact, a Protect attempt, and it did not connect. Zapdos now is going to be the recipient of the fallen Rachi's wish. Melle is further behind now with a 3 to 5 disadvantage. There's Ice Beam and Roar respectively. That's going to drag out Skarm. Skarm, of course, cannot kill him here. Claydol going to come in. It's still burnt from before. It's going to blink the Thunderbolt, but it's going to end up worse than it was because of the burn. Now he's going to pivot to Blissey. A lot of switching going on here. Melle goes for the obvious play of simply attacking it with Hidden Power, which from that HP would have killed it had he allowed that to happen, but obviously he did not. And now it's going to be the last poke revealed for Melle. It's going to be Swampert. It's got Lefty, so it's not an Endeavor Pert. It's going to come in on Ice Beam, 22%. Does it have Focus Punch here? If it's an offensive Pert, is it faster? Does it have Earthquake here? It appears that the Swampert is faster. That does not necessarily make it an offensive Pert. It could just be a boring mono Pert that happens to not be minus speed nature because he doesn't have physical attacks. He does have Earthquake here. This could be an off Pert, so that actually would have been a great turn for a Focus Punch had he anticipated that Soft Boiled. He's going to go Earthquake again, and he's going to be met with Soft Boiled again. So if he does have Focus Punch, those are 2 turns in a row in which Melle is going to be out-predicted by Teclis. And now Skarm is going to come in. It's going to be a 3rd Earthquake attempt for Melle. It's going to get blanked by the Skarm. Gengar comes in. Drill Peck there. 35%. Gengar will live another one of those in the sand if necessary. Claydol comes in. It's burnt. It's going to be a failed Will-O-Wisp, but it doesn't matter. The doll, once again, is going to take damage from doing this, and it can just get Giga Drain or Ice Punched or whatever it is down. It might be an opportunity to switch to Bliss here. She's pretty safe at 91%. We've seen only Will-O-Wisp and Giga Drain from Gengar. It may or may not have Explosion. But man, I mean, you would think if it's Boomgar, and you would think with a Skarm lead, I mean, there should be a Dugtrio somewhere for Melle, but we know definitively and have known for a while that there is not. So now it is once again Teclis taking the time. The obvious play here is to switch to Blissey, but he's got to be worried about Explosion. He's going to go to Salamence, get Intimidate off. That's going to get Giga Drained here. It's going to heal Gengar a little bit, but not in any meaningful way. And, ooh, look who's faster here. Not surprising, it is the Gengar, so I don't know if that's a plus speed Salamence. I don't know what he was trying to do with the Salamence here. Was he trying to intimidate and maybe he was trying to catch Explosion? Or maybe he thinks he doesn't have Ice Punch. Wow, that's a huge turn. He stays in, gets burnt, and gets killed by the Hidden Power despite the burn. He must either know the team or just have a read that the Gengar does not, in fact, have Ice Punch. And he seems to be right. He's going to somehow trade the Salamence with the Gengar there. It looked very likely that the Gengar was going to just kill him with Ice Punch, but that is not the way that it played out. And now Melle with his back very much against the wall. He's at a 5-2 disadvantage here. He does have HP Ice, which is what he needs to have. However, where does that leave you against the Blissey? Going to have to find a way to kill the Bliss here. Swampert going to come in. It's at 54%. It gets Ice Beam. It's going to be at 33%. Chances running thin. Swampert is faster here. Does he have Focus Punch? He's going to once again go for the Earthquake this time. Blissey's at 67%. Swampert shows Protect. It's shown only Protect and EQ. Drill Peck comes down here. Zapdos is at 36%. That should be A-okay against the Drill Peck and the Sand if need be. That's exactly what happens. It comes in. Drill Peck does 14%. Zapdos now at 22%. It's a threat to everything other than the Blissey. Will that be enough? Can he find a way to kill the Blissey? It seems to just be walling him all day. Teclis finally gives up the Claydol after using it as a pivot over and over again. Is this the Swampert switch? Is this fishing for a crit? He's going to go for Toxic. He's going to lose the Zapdos. I think that's going to be the game. I don't see how Swampert can kill Coon, even if he manages to kill the Blissey. I think Melle is dead here. He's thinking it through. He can go for Protect. There's the Earthquake knockout. Glimmer of hope here. Skarmory he can maybe beat with some good Hydro Pumps, but how do you beat the Coon? Coon at 98%. It would have to be a non-rest Coon, and Swampert would have to immediately find a crit or a freeze. I don't think it can be done, but he's gonna try it. There's a Protect and a Drill Peck. First, he's trying to deal with the Skarmory. The Hydro Pump miss did not help his case. This time he's going to connect with Hydro Pump. He's in Torrent range. Swampert fighting for dear life. It is the last hope for Melle. He is going to need a freeze. It is as simple as that. There's the Hydro Pump. He's going to have a one-turn opportunity. Even a crit will not be enough with Earthquake. He will need to find a freeze. There is Protect and Surf. Can the Swampert BS Teclis out? Needs a freeze. Lives the Surf. Here's Ice Beam. He finds a crit. That is the wrong hacks. He needed a freeze, did not get it, and that is going to end it. He had the one-turn window to find the freeze there, which, ironically, was actually more likely than the crit. But instead, he found the crit. It isn't good enough, and Teclis is going to hang on and win the game and win the match. This one quite a bit closer than either of the other two. Like I said, they were both one-sided affairs. It is going to be Teclis taking this one down, and that is going to leave us with Teclis against Roses for the spot. And on the other side of the bracket, SSTJ versus Dexa for the spot. Those will both be next week. Those are going to be great sets, and then we will know the full lineup finally for the CALLOUS Invitational 4 main event. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. If you did, leave a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And of course, there's a link in the description if you want to come in the channel. And of course, we are still accepting donations. If you guys want to support this tour, we already have our biggest ever prize pool, and there's no such thing as too big. Keep it coming. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you with more content soon.